All right, everybody. How you doing today? It's JJ Conway. I am so excited for tonight's concept. This is one of the ways that I got started in real estate investing. So today we are going to talk about foreclosure investing 101. So foreclosure consulting, rather 101. So when I well, let me just get into it. Okay. Let me get my slides going here. Well, before I get my slides going, if you have questions, make sure that you either drop them in the chat, or if you're listening, sometimes y'all will see me look down at my phone. I don't know why, because they can't see me, but sometimes I'll look down at my phone because we also have the free conference call going. Okay. Then you'll see at the bottom a ticker that says how to do this. If you want to ask a question and you're on there, you can do *6 and then 1, and that'll allow you to raise your hand in the free conference call system. And every so often, I'll get to a break point and I will click here in the free conference call system and see if anybody's got their hand raised. So if you want to be able to actually talk to me instead of just comments on Facebook or YouTube, then you're going to want to dial in at the number that is scrolling at the bottom of the page. All right. And then you're going to raise your hand by dialing *61, and then we'll have a conversation about your question. If you do ask a question either through the StreamYard or Facebook or YouTube, or through the free conference call, then what I will do, I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, but I am going to get to a break point in what I'm saying. And then once I finish my thought, then I will answer questions. Okay. Another way is to go fill out the form at askjjc.com. We finally figured out that it was not anonymous. It was requiring emails. It was requiring names. I don't know what happened, because it used to be anonymous, but for like 3 months we were getting nothing. And then I saw that it wasn't anonymous anymore. And so I think people figured, hey, rather than send something that I have to fill in, why don't I just send her an email? I'm one of her clients. Why don't I just send her an email? All right. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. I do have an upcoming announcement, but I believe that's built into my slides. But I just in case it's not, I want to tell you about the Juneteenth legacy conference that is coming up. And I just realized as I was talking, I do not have a quick link built for that. So if you hear me clicking while I'm talking, that's what I'm doing real quick. I'm building the quick link for that, because the link to hop in is pretty long. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today? We are going to be talking about Juneteenth. We are going to be talking about foreclosure consulting. Oh, the link already exists. Oh, I got to find it and do it. All right, y'all, give me a little bit of grace. I thought I had every link. Look, now I felt like I was so organized and ready for today's meeting. I thought I had every link built up, every banner already ready. And I see now that I do not. So just give me a second. I'm editing the link to Juneteenth. And that way it'll take you right to that. When you do jjclink.com/Juneteenth, it'll take you right to the thing. I'm going to go ahead and drop that. Hey, how you doing, Queen? I'm so glad to see you on there. I love seeing my queens and kings supporting. You know, one of the things that Dr. Claude Anderson presented last night on Dr. Boyce Book Club is he presented these charts, and he showed these charts of who the highest earning people groups in America was. It is not who you think, and that's not my topic today, so we're not going to talk about that. But I really appreciate those who support me. All right, because I want to support you, and as we build wealth, we are building wealth together. All right, so I'm going to get that link ready, and I'm going to get that page ready so you can see it. And now we're going to go into the actual official lesson of what we're talking about today. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I'm going to talk about some upcoming events. Ooh, Juneteenth Legacy. Oh, I'm so excited, y'all. This is my biggest and baddest conference yet. We're going to talk about who I am, what building wealth together is all about. We're going to talk about why real estate. So some of you who've been in these classes ever since we started them in 2014 or 15, you will notice that I almost always have the same intro. I always lay this foundation of why I would talk about real estate when there's other more sexy or cool investments out there, okay? Like I'm really into crypto right now. I'm trying to learn everything I can about crypto. I wish I was a little further ahead because I was asked to speak about crypto and I just didn't feel like that's a platform I can get on an official stage where they paying me. But if you know someone who can speak well about crypto, you send them my way because I would love, love, love to give them that slot. But there's a reason why I teach about real estate. There's a reason why I recommend certain things to clients, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about what this group does and doesn't do. Then we're going to get into the meat of the conference, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper. Now, I will say that I'll save it for later. Okay, so that's our agenda today, and don't worry. The only thing I'm going to try to sell you into tonight is my Juneteenth conference because you'll see in another slide why. I do have two promises. Okay, the first promise, and I try to make this with everything I teach. Okay, the first promise that I want to make to you today is you are going to be able to go out tonight and start using what I teach you. When in these 101 classes, I'm trying to put the cookies on the bottom shelf. I'm trying to make it so that everybody can grab hold of what I'm talking about and make something happen tonight. Now, whether or not you got money in your pocket tomorrow, that's going to depend on your network, your ability to hustle, and your drive and your stamina. Okay, I can't guarantee how much money you're going to make, but I can guarantee you're going to learn enough tonight about foreclosure consulting that you can get started in this area tonight. All right. The other thing that I'm going to promise you today, normally I'd say at the end, I've got an opportunity for you to dig deeper. I usually come out with a $3,000 to $5,000 class where I walk alongside you, teach you hands-on what I'm doing. I am not offering that class right now. You'll find out why later. But I will make this promise to you. Okay, I will make this promise to you because I know so many of you really, really want to learn more about real estate investing and these various techniques. Even though I am not doing the big classes where I'm putting in, 30, 40, 50 people. If you are interested in a one-on-one kind of thing, or you're interested in flying me out or zooming me on your computer to your group and you want to do the legwork and set that up and you want to bring me in, I will work with you on a price point and a package that works for your group. Okay, so I hope that's okay today. I had a couple people the last couple times, they're like, but we want to learn more, and you're not offering us anything. You're supposed to teach entrepreneurs how to build their businesses, and you're not doing one of your own steps. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'll explain why I'm a little why I'm not doing what I normally do. It's because I've moved. Okay. And so those are my two promises though. I am not going to leave anybody behind. So if you got something that you want to ask, follow the instructions in the banner at the bottom of the screen and it'll tell you how to ask a question. If you're asking an advanced question that I can't handle live, well, I mean, I could handle it, but I'm choosing to keep everything 101. Okay. Or if your question is something that really needs a one-on-one conversation, I will give you that opportunity to dig deeper with me in a private setting. All right. So, a couple admin notes before I dig into the juiciness here. Okay. I think I've already talked about how to ask your question. It's going to be on the comments, whether you're watching Facebook, YouTube. I'm streaming this thing to like 20 million different platforms. So you might have two people on your platform and they might have three people on their platform. And I got a handful here. Hey, y'all, I'm so glad you're on today. I got a handful here that are on the free conference call, right? That just makes my heart happy when people dial in. But between all of those platforms, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comments. If you're on a free conference call, raise your hand. Okay. Next thing I want to address, and this is an interesting thing. This content that I'm giving you tonight, there are people who have paid thousands of dollars for this information. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is not because I'm just an amazing altruistic person. I am amazing and I do believe the best for everybody. And I do want to up-level my communities. But the reason I'm giving out this information and the reason I have the follow-on packages is because this particular level of real estate investing class, these are my fundraiser for Global Youth Initiative. And if you live in the Shreveport-Bossier City area, you know that for almost 4 years in that Pierre Bossier Mall, every April, we did an all-day real estate thing. We went through everything, all of these different classes. We got hands-on. We got in with the script. I mean, it was delicious. It was so juicy. And people paid for that class. And that's how I funded my Global Youth Initiative things. Because Global Youth Initiative doesn't have a 501c3. So I didn't feel like asking for donations when I couldn't give you no tax receipt. You understand what I'm saying? So this is my fundraiser, and I'm asking that you will support. If you like the content, if it's a blessing to you, send a donation at any amount to PayPal or Cash App. My handle on both of those platforms is Queen of Cash Flow. And what we do in the Global Youth Initiative is we look at personality, we look at youth strengths, we encourage them that they are uniquely made, we look at how they have special things to offer, and maybe they're in a family where everybody else is kind of created this way, but they feel like the oddball. Well, we show them that they were made with a purpose and that they have God-given talents and abilities that will take them far. So they don't have to feel like an oddball. They don't have to feel like there's nothing for them. They don't have to feel like there's no place for them. They can feel like they can make a contribution and that they belong and that they are enough. How much of our grief as adults today would have been wiped away, would have been prevented if somebody had poured into our lives as children and let us know that we are enough? Well, now you have an opportunity to do that for somebody else. Now I can't explain away. I can't vouch for. I can't sugarcoat it and explain how maybe you shouldn't feel the way you felt about some of the things that held you back. And I know many of us who are subscribed to me, you are successful. You have overcome a lot. You know the value of bringing in a coach to help you get past your blind spots, right? But I know sometimes we sit there and we think, what would my life be like if somebody would have poured into me when I was younger? If somebody would have explained to me that this is how I'm made. And sure, all these other people act like this, but this is how I'm made. If someone would have come along and taught me the foundations of leadership, think about what the difference in your life would be. And when you're done thinking about what the difference in your life would be, I want you to make that difference in the life of a young person. Even $5 of a donation, y'all. Even $5 of a donation changes the energy. Even $1. Look, you can go on PayPal, friends and family, so there's no fees, and you can send me $1. And just $1 shifts your energy. You know why it shifts your energy? It shifts your energy because now you got skin in the game. See, now you're not just watching me. Now you don't just got me playing in your background while you're cooking dinner. You don't have just have me on your background while you're washing dishes. Lord knows I've watched many of live streamer Zoom while I was washing dishes, but now you're partnering with me. And as I receive the blessing for changing these kids' lives, you receive the blessing for changing these kids' lives. So come on out and help me out and enjoy the content today. But look, if you screenshot even one slide, I'm gonna ask you for at least $1 per slide. How's that? Is that fair enough? $1 per slide. All right, $1 per slide. I should say $10 per slide. This stuff is so priceless. Okay. All right. So it's a fundraiser for Global Youth Initiative. Queen of Cash Flow on PayPal or Cash App. We also, that slide is out of date. I messed that up. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going because that's not the event that I wanted to. So you're probably going to see it's probably hidden, but there's going to be another slide. But PayPal or Cash App, there should be a bit.ly. It's bit.ly/love helping, all lowercase. But let me get to the other announcements before I get back into what we're doing today. Okay, so that announcement slide is out of date. I want to show you guys something I'm so excited about. Let me stop sharing this one. And for those of you who are listening on free conference call, what I'm doing is I am pulling up the Juneteenth Legacy page. And that is, you can go to jjclink.com/Juneteenth. So that's jjclink.com/Juneteenth. All right. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited to show you this. Let me make that bigger so you can see it in all its goodness there. Okay. Don't laugh at all my tabs. I don't know how to get that off so you don't see that, but don't laugh at all my tabs. Okay. This is the Juneteenth Legacy Conference. This is the biggest conference that I have hosted. And we have some phenomenal speakers. Okay. This conference is designed to help people of color achieve everything that our ancestors fought for. And look, I'm going to say something here. Some of you are like, some of you, I know, because I'm from my dark side of my family's from the islands, right? Right. So I got the Italian side and I got the island side, right? Look, I know I was told growing up, well, y'all ancestors weren't on the plantation. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if you from the islands. It doesn't matter if you migrated in. It doesn't matter where you came from. If you are a person of color in this nation, this great America that I love so much and gave 23 years of my life to the Air Force to help protect our freedom, this nation where anybody can build wealth if they will follow time-tested success secrets, okay? If you are a person of color, no matter what your descendancy is from, whatever your lineage, let's say it that way, you suffer, you face unique obstacles and very specific challenges to building wealth in this country. And we can pretend that it doesn't happen because we've got the onesies or twosies that actually make it through and they get to where they want to go and they don't have to face those challenges for whatever reason. Okay. I used to feel bad about it, but now I use it as a weapon because there's a lot of times, I don't sound like this on the phone. There's a lot of times I get a whole lot done when people do not realize what I look like on the phone. There's a lot of times I entrap people too. I guess that's why I've got such an investigative nature. But if you are a person of color in this country, regardless of your lineage, regardless of whether any of your ancestors were working on these southern plantations and enduring all the trappings of American slavery, you still face these issues. And we are even worse in a nation that refuses to acknowledge it. So we're in a situation where nobody wants to acknowledge the struggles. And while I personally feel it is not our fault we're in the situation we're in, our situation, the racial dynamic, the disparities in education, healthcare, promotions, leadership opportunities, the whole gamut. Those things are not our fault, but they are our responsibility to do something about, because ain't nobody going to care about your life more than you will. And it's time we stood up and fought for our communities. Now, I know some of you are like, I came for a real estate investing class. I was not coming to get a lecture on race. No, I'm not trying to give you a lecture on race. I'm trying to explain why this is important for you to be in my Juneteenth Legacy Conference, whether or not you think that you face any of these barriers. Because if you don't think you face any of these barriers, or if you are an ally today and you don't think any of these barriers really exist. Oh, I thought I had put the screen back up. Hold on, let me get that back up. Oh, that's a beautiful picture. Hold on. whether you think that these issues exist or whether you have ever experienced them, the whole spectrum of humanity needs to be in this conference, either to learn what these issues are or learn how to deal with them. We're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about how being a person of color in the United States impacts your ability to build financial independence and what you can do about it. All right. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So that's my announcement. Okay. You can go to, let me put it up. You can go to, where did I put it? JJC link. I'm just going to build a new one /Juneteenth. And you can, oops, wrong one. Sorry, y'all. I got too many. Look, I'm giving everybody free advertisements today. I thought I had it. Okay, so anyway, Juneteenth.com. Okay, so again, this is one of those. I mean, not Juneteenth.com. It's JuneteenthLegacy.com, but that puts you on the mailing list to get this link sent to you. Okay, so anywho, I am very excited about today because one of the things about this country is that anybody can build wealth in real estate. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. I'm going to leave that up for just a second. I'm going to leave that link up for just a second so that you can see that while I am bringing up my slides again. You know, if anybody wants to jump in one of these days, I think I should hire somebody to manage this for me. Don't y'all think that would be nice to have somebody come in and manage this so I can just talk and have fun? And I don't have to worry about switching the slides and all that. I think that would be nice. I think y'all would enjoy that too. Okay, so conference coming up. We already have our speaker set for this one. I do want to give some more quick announcements. Okay, so those of you who've been with us for years, generally speaking, this was run like a real estate investment group. When we were in Northern Virginia, it was a real estate investment group. When we were in Louisiana, it was a real estate investment group. And here I have moved to Texas. I'm still learning my way around. Like I'm going to be bidding in my very first tax sales pretty soon. So, you know, it's okay for me to teach the 101 level because I can teach you that. And if you're in Maryland, Northern Virginia, DC, Louisiana, I can teach you what I know for those jurisdictions. But I can't teach anybody local what I don't know. And when I teach my classes, I'm not just some guru who's putting you in a stock thing that they done taught 20 years in a row and that's so out of date. What I do when I teach my dig deeper classes is I, no kidding, have you look over my shoulders. Now, sometimes I'll do a look over my shoulders when I'm still green at it, you know, but I usually don't do a look over my shoulder when I'm in my first year. Now, my second year, my third year, and I'll be up front like you're getting a discount because it's only my second year and there's still a lot of things that pop up. I mean, you could do something for 20 years and things still pop up, right? But just because of that, we're not in 2022. I'm not doing the dig deeper classes because I like to do everything with excellence. And if I don't know that for sure that I can deliver, not that I wouldn't not do anything if I don't know how to do everything, but this is one of those areas where I'm helping you build a future. And as your fee only fiduciary financial planner, my job, like this is an obligation that I took on. This is an obligation. When I said that I was going to be a fee only fiduciary, I took on the responsibility that everything I do for you is going to be in your best financial interest. All right. Not just putting money in my pocket, but working it together. All right. That's why building wealth together. Okay. So if you're interested, I've got a list here of different places that you can go that I have already worked with these people. I am still members of most of these. Yeah, I think I just let my Shreveport Sabria membership slide because I'm not there. I'm not investing. I'm selling everything that I have in Shreveport. I'm selling off most of what I have because I want to build up money to buy in Texas. We're going to be here for quite some time. So if you are in these markets that I've got listed here, and for those of you on the free conference call, for Virginia, I've got Capital City REIA. For DC, I've got DC REIA Real Investors. Also, most of Maryland, right? If you're in Baltimore specifically, I've got Maria, which I'm a member of, been a member for years. BWI is another good one. In Shreveport, there's two groups, and there may be more, but these are the two that I worked with when I was there, is Sabria and RE360. And then in Fort Worth, Weatherford, Fort Worth, I love Tim Cook's West DFW REIA. He is a genuine investor, and he will tell you his good, bad, and ugly when it comes to investing. And I like that. I like that in an investor. That's how I teach, you know. I don't want you to just think it's all rainbows and unicorns, okay? This is our schedule. So this is what we've been covering. This is what we've been covering all this time. Today, we're going to talk about foreclosure consulting. Next month, we're going to talk about self-directed IRAs. Okay. That's our schedule. Who am I? I think most of y'all on today probably know who I am, but I'm just going to go through this really quick. I've been helping people get out of debt ever since 1998. That was the promise Larry Burkett and his staff made me do because I couldn't afford the $8 for his cassette tape program to help me get out of debt. I was in so much debt, y'all. I was so embarrassed. I had just graduated from the Air Force Academy in 1997, and I went to get my very first apartment together, and I couldn't even get approved for a Kmart credit card so that I could furnish my very first apartment. I had a whole buggy full of pots and pans and knives and towels and shower curtain and stuff like that for my very first little apartment. And they denied me. And you know what was so bad is back then they weren't so socially conscious as they are now. Back then they like put it over the loudspeaker. Miss Wiggins, you are not approved for your Kmart credit card. Please come to the back if you would like to get a copy of your credit report. Like the most, and I was just a brand new lieutenant. And can you imagine? Like, I don't know if any of my coworkers were in there, but my goodness, y'all, I was so embarrassed. So I ended up going to the base thrift store, bought my knives, my plates, and all that stuff for pennies on the dollar at the base thrift store. And Larry Burkett's staff helped me get out of debt. And their only promise was use the materials we're going to send you. Use the materials we're going to send you and help somebody else. And I got out of debt the first time in 1998 and used the materials to help somebody else. And I've never stopped. A year later, we bought our very first house and realized, wow, real estate is a thing. And this is coming from two people, me and my ex-husband, who had never lived in our own house before. He had grown up in the projects. If you're from Fayetteville, he lived in Bonnie Doon. And I grew up in base housing, which is, quality wise is just as bad, though not as dangerous. All right. And we were like, wow, we actually have a house and we can buy a house. And wow, this is something we can do. And we can pay off a house and have property and have ownership. So we got bit with the real estate bug, y'all. We got bit with the real estate bug. And we did what all the gurus say. We leveraged all this debt. We daisy chained the equity and took the equity from one to buy the next, fixed it up, refinanced, took the equity. I mean, this is the whole thing. They're still teaching this. And you know what? People still losing everything through these prospects. Now, does it sometimes work? Sure, it does. It is mathematically, it is a good way to go to buy real estate. But behaviorally, y'all, I have had too many people's clients that have followed the OPM strategy and ended up owing OPM. They used other people's money and now they owe other people's money. All right. So through real estate and the crash of 2007 to 9, and going through the divorce and all of that, ended up with $845,000 of divorce debt. And so I need to update that because I guess it's now 13 years later. I guess 2022. I am now financially secure stay-at-home mom. I work when I want to and I enjoy my life. And I want that for everybody else that's on here. And so I empower women now to have the financial freedom to live their fullest life and their highest calling through financial and investment education. All right. This is my big why. I need to update this picture. This is only 2 years old, y'all. This is only 2 years old. And now these boys are so grown. That big one with his long dread, well, they're his dreads and he's up here talking like this. Like I really need to get that picture updated. But that's really the original thing of why I started doing what I do. I wanted to make sure that these boys never had to sleep in another moldy basement apartment, unless they chose to. I wanted to make sure that they never had to spend the night in another Walmart parking lot because we didn't have a place to stay unless they wanted to. I wanted to make sure that the only house that they had wasn't going to be a $3,000 Baltimore house in riot ground zero unless that was their choice. Okay. And so you can see, for those of you who can see my Big Y 2.0, this is my house over here behind this tree. I couldn't find a better picture of it, and I couldn't find my records. I had a lot of things that got corrupted, so I don't have my records of the original picture. But that's my house in Baltimore. Okay, and that was the original goal. And I have accomplished that goal. These boys are not going to have that happen to them unless they make those choices. And that's going to be on them, right? And I've taught them a lot about money. Even the 6-year-old, he can teach you a lot about money because he sat through, just like he is right now, he sat through so many of my classes, same as the big one. But now my vision is to change communities. Like my vision is to finish what I started in Baltimore City, in places like that, where the vision was to buy up the block, renovate it, put the homeowners in, and reestablish that pride of home ownership and having something. That's my big why now. That's why I'm doing what I do. All right. Let me tell you, this group isn't about getting rich quick. This group is about getting rich right. And there's a lot of right ways to get rich, but guess what? Most of them don't make a whole lot of money on late night TV. So you don't really hear a lot about ways that everyone can build wealth. You hear about the ways that sound super sexy and super exciting, and then you're going to pay this money and it's going to be an easy button that allows you to just hit easy street. And that's not really how it works. Okay? We are dedicated to empowering people to get what they want out of life through education, ethics, accountability. Okay. And so my method of investing is to invest without debt. And that's what you're going to get from me. All right. It's not to say that other people aren't successful, but when I see so many people failing, then I don't want to teach you the ways that cover other people to fail. Okay. So if you are on board with my investing philosophy, whether or not that's how you built your wealth, if you understand now that a debt-free philosophy or investing without taking on more debt is a good philosophy, because sometimes we do handle debt, but we're not adding to debt. We're not taking on more debt to our name. If that is something that you're with, join me in sponsoring. 2023, we're going to start listing sponsors again, and we can start having those conversations now about what a valid sponsor package will look like for you, because I want things to always be a win-win-win. Okay. Speaking of a win-win-win, one of the things I love, love, love to teach, and we are not going into huge detail tonight because I've already spent half an hour telling you why you need to be in my Juneteenth conference and why you need to support my fundraiser. um, But if this is new to you, I encourage you to go to my Real Estate Investing 101 class, which should still be out there. I don't believe I've taken it down yet. If I have, it should be available for free on the Building Wealth Together class, because that's the lead into you buying the other classes, right? Like, I need you to want to buy the other classes. There are 20 different ways that I teach about profiting from real estate. Now, some people teach 1,000 ways, and then they're like multiple iterations of each other. Some people teach that you can group some of these together and there's really only 12 or 13 ways. This is what I teach. Everybody's got a different way, okay? But these strategies here, these are different ways that I know people personally have invested with real estate and profited. And the cool thing about it, these ones that I've shaded in blue, and for those of you who are listening on free conference call, I'm sorry that you can't see this. It is such a mouthful. I am not going to be able to read all of these to you today. So I encourage you to get out to my Facebook or my YouTube before I take this down and take a look at the slides. All right. So the ones that I've got highlighted in blue, these are ones that you can profit from, even if you don't own the property. Okay. Even if you don't buy the property, even if you don't deal with tenants and toilets, even if you don't put your name on the deed, or more appropriately, your LLC's name on the deed, you can still profit from these strategies. To me, that's one of the most amazing things about real estate investing. And this group that I've now switched to in green, bird dogging, wholesaling, lease to own, deal making, foreclosure consulting, which we're talking about tonight, sub-2, VA, and ancillary services, all of those ways to profit with real estate, those are ones that you can start today without any money. Okay. I find it very hard to invest in land or foreclosures if you don't have cash, but you can do foreclosure consulting. So that's one of the reasons I love teaching this stuff, because it's something all of us can get started in. Okay. So, okay, let's do a little foundation. I think I've already talked through some of this in so many classes. I want to make sure I cover it, but I don't want to spend too much detail. So if you have a question, if I go too fast, drop it in the comments and I'll come back to it. Or if you're on free conference call, let me check them real quick and make sure I didn't lose them. All right. I don't see any hands raised on free conference call. If you just raise your hand, and when I finish each slide, I'll answer your questions. Okay. There's lots of different ways to profit from real estate. I showed you a slide that has a bunch of them there. So you could profit from the property. You can get the cash flow from the property, get the appreciation from the property. You can get the benefit of controlling the property, right? You can also profit from industries that are related to investing. So things like the trades, like if you're a plumber or an electrician, or you do air conditioning and things like that, landscaping, right? You can also profit from what I call ancillary services. So that's like, I put in a vending machine, or I put in an ATM. I don't own the real estate. I just know how to find people who could use what I want to put in, and they put it in. Or maybe I provide Maybe I provide a professional service that's not a real estate related service. So instead, I may do VA. Photography could go under this as well. I may be a virtual assistant today, but I focus on real estate investors, okay, rather than focusing on anybody else. And that's a really great way to niche down your business, no matter what your business is. So maybe you're a financial coach today. I was talking to a financial coach earlier this week who decided he was going to niche down into mental health providers. So he is a financial coach to help mental health providers strengthen their businesses. And there's a lot of mental health providers out there that have big hearts and they want to change the world and they want to help people get better, but they don't know how to run their business. So guess what? He helps them financially structure their business. It's a win-win, right? He gets to know that industry, and you can do the same thing with real estate. All right. So this is why I love real estate. So even if you never buy a house, there's so many different ways to profit from real estate, okay? And so I have found in my experience that real estate is one of the best ways to build and maintain wealth. And other than the long time horizon that you could use in the stock market, it's the only ethical, repeatable way that I've personally seen people build their financial independence in as little as 3 years. Have I seen people build financial independence in less than 3 years? Yes. I have friends. I have this one friend, y'all. I admire her so much. And y'all have heard me talk about her if you've been in this class, because she jumps on the next network marketing thing and immediately seven figures, right? And she's not just faking that. Like, she's not like some of these people that you meet on the subway with their wrinkled up suit trying to tell you how you can build financial independence, and they've been trying for 5 years and they still in debt, right? Like that she's the real deal. And so I'm just to the point now that when she's got a new thing, I'm just going to go with it. Even if I don't always understand it, if I've got the discretionary income, like the throwaway, the miscellaneous, the go out to eat, the go on go to the beach money, I'm just going to jump in it, because whatever she does makes money. And if you get in early enough, you even if you're not good at sales, you make money, right? But as a financial planner, as your fee only fiduciary financial planner, should you choose to engage my services, I can't recommend that to everybody, because most people I know who get into those companies, they don't make money. But do I know people who do? Absolutely, all day long. Can I teach you some strategies? I can get John Maxwell has a whole book, and I teach that book to anybody who's in it and their businesses grow. So can I teach you that? Sure. But it takes work, it takes connection, it takes boldness, okay? And so does a lot of real estate. But the thing is, for me, is as somebody who's helping people, a great number of people in a general capacity like this, where I'm not working one on one, I got to recommend things to you that I know will work for the great majority of people, not for specific personalities, okay? So I have found that if you will follow the number one rule of real estate, you will always be successful. And the number one rule of real estate investment is you make your money when you buy. And I'm so big about this, we're going to say it 3 times. You make your money when you buy. You make your money when you buy. You're not buying a house at cost with no cash flow, expecting that you are going to have appreciation, and that's where your wealth is going to come from. No, not you. If you do that, you are not going to tell them that JJ Conway taught you how to do that, because I'm going to teach you how to get a property at 70 to 80% of the cost of value. All right. Because if you buy a property with that kind of a loan to value ratio, or that kind of cost to value ratio, it is going to make you money. If you have something happen, you have the dream job. I had a friend got an offer to be on TV with John Cena. And you know what? She dropped her papers, retired from the Marines early, and went out there and got on that show. All right. When you have something like that pop up in your life, you don't want to be saddled down with a whole bunch of obligations and liabilities. You want to be able to go, I'm out. All right. So it's not just about my mom died and my mom's dying and now I need to leave everything behind and go take care of her. No, sometimes it's good things. You want to have flexibility in your life. You want to have freedom of space and energy and money to do the things that you want to do. That's what this is about. I want you to have freedom, not bondage. All right. So a property that's purchased at a low enough cost to value ratio is always going to make you money. Okay. And so I recommend that people start off with bird dogging, wholesaling, which we've already talked about. We already did driving for dollars. And I also recommend foreclosures because you're doing kind of the same thing as a bird dog and a wholesaler. Okay. And really what bird dogging and wholesaling are is you're finding properties for another investor to buy. In the case of bird dogging, you're just finding it, giving them some information, hoping you get paid one day, right? Put a little more elbow grease into it. Now you could be a wholesaler where you're actually locking the property down with a contract. You find the property, you negotiate a really good price, and you say, hey, investor, I got this great property. Would you like to buy it? The investor buys it. They pay you a fee. You make money. They make money. The homeowner is relieved of a huge headache burden problem, and everybody's happy. Foreclosure consulting is basically doing all of this with the added step that if you're going to call yourself a foreclosure consultant, you really should put forth the first effort to try to help them stay in their home. And then if they can't, you find an investor who can swoop in, quickly buy the home, stop the foreclosure, maybe even, depending on if there's any equity in the deal, if there's enough equity in the deal, maybe even give them a little something in their pocket to help them move. If they can start their life over, you get paid, the investor gets paid, the homeowner gets a fresh start. And this is such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful concept. And to me, it was a wonderful place for me to get started in real estate investing. The problem is so many people were preying, and still do in many markets. So many people were preying on individuals in foreclosure that many states have enacted laws that prevent you from being able to buy the house if you market yourself as a foreclosure consultant. Okay. So before I talk a little bit more about that, I do want to kind of say why I want you to learn this now. This is, I think, the third time that I've taught this class. Okay. And the reason I'm teaching this class is because this is so important, because we've had this whole thing that happened with COVID-19. So many people put their loans into forbearance. So many people didn't pay their mortgage all this time. And and a lot of people say, well, the government's going to take care of me. Look, I hope the government takes care of you, but we all know how bad the government is about managing money. I can't rely on the government to take care of me. Not in the way I want. Because let me tell you something about the way government takes care of you. The government takes care of you with substandard food that makes you fat and unhealthy, overweight and unhealthy, obese and unhealthy. They're trying to outlaw the word obese. I don't even know what the right thing to say is anymore, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You get that good government cheese, it melts, it makes a nice macaroni and cheese, but it is so bad for your arteries. So maybe something will happen, right? Maybe something will happen and there'll be some kind of loan forgiveness. I don't know. But I do know one thing. I do know that there are going to be a lot of people who are left holding the bag. And I remember when the market crashed before, and I ended up in all that debt. And the government had these programs for military. But because we had bought our house through conventional methods, we didn't have an FHA loan. We didn't have a VA loan. We didn't have any of those government-backed programs. Guess what? No help for us. Okay? So I'm going to answer this question in just a second. Okay. So whenever this ends, there's going to be a record number of people who are going to have to pay in full, can't pay in full because instead of saving, they use that money to live, right? A lot of people used that mortgage they weren't paying to live on. And the banks are pushing, like I still get notices about, if you need to be in forbearance, we can help you, we can work on you. The banks are pushing this because they don't want to default, and the banks are also hoping that the government will bail people out, right? I want you to stop and think about it for a second, though. Why on earth would the banks continue to push this when everybody's crying out that they can't find good workers? There's plenty of work to be had, but yet the banks seem to think, hey, I can have my cake and eat it too. We're going to push these extensions, and we're going to get our insurance money, our PMI money, we're going to get our government money, and oh well, you're going to lose your house. Now, I don't know. I'm not in the banking industry. I don't know that. Nobody in the banking industry told me that. I'm just supposing. That's why I'm not licensed. I want to be able to speak my mind. Okay. But the predictions are saying that the foreclosure rate is going to be at record high because people are not going to be able to pay. So now is the time to get comfortable with these concepts. Do the research, understand the concept that I'm talking about. That way, when this situation blows up, you are primed and ready to create win-win-win solutions that benefit you, benefit the homeowner, and benefit the ultimate investor who buys the property if you're in a state where that can't be you. All right. It's all about creating a win-win-win. Now, I'm going to answer this question right now. The question says, is foreclosure property more beneficial than a lease to own? The thing about what's more beneficial is it's kind of like asking if my cup is big. Yes and no. This cup is big compared to a lot of cups. That's one of the reasons I bought this particular one. It was the largest one on the market at the time that was constructed this way to keep my drinks cold in that hot, hot, hot sun. But there are bigger cups. There are smaller cups. I can't tell you what's most beneficial for you because I don't know what your lifestyle, your strategy, your comfort level is. Okay. So a foreclosure property, a foreclosure property is one that you're either buying after it's been foreclosed on, and we're going to talk about how that works in a second, or it's one that you're buying from the homeowners before it goes into foreclosure. Well, they probably haven't done any maintenance. They probably haven't put anything into the property. They may even strip out as much as they can for it. I can't tell you if it's worth it or not because it's deal to deal dependent. A lease to own, if you're wanting to buy something, a lease to own might be a more sure deal. Depending on the person you're leasing it from, there may be some maintenance that is provided to you. It may be a property that's been better kept. It may not. I know, y'all, I have sat in some real estate investment classes where they have pretty much said, buy this dump, sell it, sell it lease to own, and make them do all of the maintenance on it because it's their house now. They're buying it. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation. Actually, I think we talk more about lease to own in creative financing. I think next month is self-directed IRAs, I believe. And I believe the month after that is creative financing. So this is one of those questions where it's really going to come down to the numbers, your tolerance level, how much work the property needs, and how comfortable you feel doing the work that the property needs. Great question. I just don't have a great answer. Okay, so what is this whole thing about foreclosures? Okay, so if you've never been through foreclosure, praise the Lord for you. Praise the Lord. If you've never been through a foreclosure or you've never had to go through a loan forbearance because you couldn't pay your bills, that is a blessing. All right. What what happens is when you can't pay your mortgage, the lender, the bank, whoever it was that made you the loan. Actually, I should probably back that up a little bit because if you've been a renter all your life, like I was before I bought that first house, right? And you've always lived in apartments or in roommate situations, a mortgage is the loan that the bank gives you to buy a house. So you get like a car loan for a car. A mortgage is what you get for buying a house. And it could be a bank, it could be an individual, it could be another lender. If they record it properly and file it in the county or parish land records, however that's done for that particular jurisdiction, then now you have a verifiable mortgage. And so if that lender isn't getting paid and they have filed something that gives them legal teeth to collect from you, they can foreclose. Foreclosure is them forcing the sale of your property so that they can get their money back or at least try to. So it could be like, I'm going to sell you my Steelers cup. I'm going to give you the low price of $25 a month, and you got to pay me for 2 years because it's that good of a cup, right? Well, after 2 months, you're like, I can buy this cup anywhere else and get my girl to make it for me for $50. I'm not going to keep paying JJ. Well, if I filed something somewhere legally that says you're going to pay me this stuff, I can take you to court and make you sell the cup back. Well, nobody's going to pay what's $25 for 2 years. That's $1,200. Nobody's going to go to that mortgage, that auction and pay $1,200 for this cup, right? So what I'm going to do as the person who's foreclosing on you because you are paying me for my cup that I love, I would go to the auction and I would buy my own cup back. So at least now I have my cup. I don't have my money, but at least I have my cup and somebody else didn't get my cup. All right. And then I can go find somebody else to sell my cup to. And it's such a great cup. They're going to fall in love with it. And they're going to agree to pay me that $25 a month. And then they're probably going to backfire and I'm going to have to foreclose on them. But you know what? I'm going to keep getting my money and keep getting my cup. Now, that's a little bit of a facetious example, but it's the same way with properties, okay? There's 3 different phases of foreclosure profit. The first phase is when people are not paying their bills. And the bank is like, please pay, please pay, please pay, please pay. This is where you have the most equity in the deal. This is where you have the most profit in the deal, okay? If they don't pay, just like I was about to take you to court over my cup, the bank says, okay, fine, you're not going to pay. We are going to force the sale. And now they do the legal procedure to force the sale. And depending on your jurisdiction, a lot of times it's run by the sheriff. They will sell your property at the auctions. At the auctions, you can go and buy a foreclosed property. You usually have to pay in cash. Some jurisdictions, it's within 3 days. Most of the ones I've lived in, it's that day by like 2 p.m., right? The auction's at 10 and you got to pay by 2, right? So however that happens, that's another opportunity to buy a foreclosure property. But if nobody buys it, or like in the silly example I gave you of my $1,200 Steelers cup, nobody paid what I want to pay. Nobody's paying what the bank wants to pay. You got a $300,000 loan and the highest investor is at 50. The bank is like, no, we are not going to devalue that loan like that. We're not going to let this property go for 50. We will buy the property and try to sell it ourselves. That's when it becomes real estate owned. They buy it at the auction. Now it's theirs and you can go and buy it. Now, back when I started in real estate investing, a lot of these kinds of deals were not listed in the MLS by a lot of realtors. That has exploded over the last 20 years, right? And so now you find them all over the MLS or the Matrix or whatever y'all call your local version of the MLS, the multiple listing service. And so that's where, that's where another opportunity for you to buy the property. Of course, each phase of this, you're losing more and more potential profit because if you buy it at the auctions, well, now you got to pay more than if you could get it from the family that's leaving. A lot of times somebody in foreclosure who just needs a fresh start, if you can come in and clean up the loan and get it current and give them a little something to move, then they are so thankful. They move on. They don't have that huge payment hanging over their head anymore. And you can start over just by taking over the payments. So for example, someone comes to me, they had a mortgage of, I think it was like $1,200 a month, maybe $1,500 a month. They were 4 months behind. So that's like $6,000 and some fees for being late, right? And so my thing was, well, you can find a way to get this $6,000 because you've done so many tries to work it out with the bank and it didn't work. Or I can bring in an investor who will catch the loan up and they'll give you $4,000 and you just walk away. They take over your loan. They pay it down for you, so it's going to improve your credit, right? And you just walk away. Well, you can do that when you have a property that has $100,000 worth of equity in it. Okay. But if it goes to the auctions, that equity gets eaten up by now the bank fees and all the legal fees and all that stuff. And if they buy it and then they have to sell it as an REO, that's even more fees. You got realtor fees and more legal fees. Okay. So every stage it's less profit, but there's still a lot of profit in foreclosures. Okay. Now, like I was saying before, there are a lot of protective state laws. It's very important that if you're going to do foreclosure consulting, that you understand the laws of the state or the county or parish in which you are operating. Okay. Another big worry about foreclosure properties is people are not maintaining them and there can be a fair amount of looting. So you want to make sure you understand. I went into a property once. I really wanted this property, but there was a squatter in there and they had jerry-rigged all the wiring so they could have internet or not internet, but they could have electricity and whatever else they had in there. And from what I heard from another realtor after the fact, that they had actually stripped the copper wiring in the property. And I've heard that happen to a lot of investors. So you have to be careful. They've stripped it so they could go sell it. And so when I started in real estate investing, I started in Maryland. And in 2007, I believe it was, they came out with a law called the Protection of Homeowners and Foreclosure Act. And that law said, if you advertise that you are a foreclosure consultant, you cannot buy the property. Well, I was scared to death of buying a property anyway, so I wasn't even trying to do that, y'all. Look, let's just be real about it. I didn't want to deal with no tenants. I just wanted to make some money and get my feet wet and learn about real estate. I wanted to earn while I learn. All right. And so, excuse me. And so what I became was a foreclosure consultant. I was actually, this is so funny. I was actually the treasurer. The group I was in, the real estate investment group I was in, advocated down in Annapolis, and they created the first ever Maryland Professional Foreclosure Consulting certification class. And I was the treasurer for the what was it? The Professional Association of Maryland, no, the Association of Maryland Professional Foreclosure Consultants. I was like the founding treasurer. I was like, oh, look at me. Yeah. I didn't do much because I ended up getting orders and moved, but it was kind of nice little bullet. So I do I loved the idea that I was helping people and I could get the experience negotiating with the banks and trying to negotiate forbearances and loan modifications and things like that. And then if I couldn't help them, there was a ton of investors who were ready to swoop on in and buy the property. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each stage of the foreclosure consulting process. And so I'm going to show you what the stages are, what an investor would do, and what a foreclosure consultant would do. And in some states, you can be both. Like from what I understand, Texas, you can be both. I still haven't sat down and talked with the lawyers yet, and I haven't taken a look at the new legislation that's being discussed and proposed and all that. I haven't done any of that yet because this isn't something I'm going to be doing right now, but is something that I am researching and talking to other investors about. And from what I understand, there's no such restrictions here, but there were restrictions when I was in Maryland, and there were other restrictions. Was it Oklahoma or Alabama? I don't remember for sure, but you got to check your jurisdiction and make sure you don't end up in jail for this thing. All right. So the first stage, pre-foreclosure, this is where they have stopped making their payments, or they're not making enough payments, or they're making payments, but they're still late because of some previously missed payments. Whatever the situation, the bank feels they are not getting enough money. They're not getting an adequate amount of payments, and they are getting concerned about this seller. One of the problems about sellers being in this situation, I have found that most sellers in this situation, they do what I did. They think it'll work out. It'll work out. The Lord is on my side. The Lord will work it out. Anybody ever said that before? Anybody ever said the Lord will work it out? And the Lord's like, I need you to take some action. The Lord will work it out. I've got faith. And the Lord's like, faith is the substance of things hoped for. I need to see some substance. I need to see you actually do something. I need you to stop talking and start moving, start putting something on paper, start making some payments or getting another job or something, right? Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes you're fighting a spiritual battle and you can do everything. You can take 4 or 5 jobs and that money still disappears, all right? But a lot of times in this situation, a lot of sellers are really, they don't realize that what the missed payments means is you cannot afford to live there. They think something else is going to work out and it's just around the corner and their ship is about to come in and everything's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So what ends up happening is by the time they call you to help with the foreclosure, like the sale is next week and you got to work miracles in a hurry, right? So you may not be able to help them with the bank, and you may not be able to help them with a whole lot other than here's an investor that'll buy it from you, and at least you won't have this on your credit report. Okay. So the distressed seller is what we call pre-foreclosure. The homeowner's late, and it's less now than it was when I got started. When I got started, it was very easy to call the bank. All I had to do was get a form from the seller that said I was allowed to talk to the bank on their behalf. And now there are a lot of banks that will not allow you to talk to them unless you are the seller. And if you're somebody like me who's in the ministry, who does not want to jeopardize their anointing with a little white lie, well, then you have to do some other creative strategies, because I'm not going to call up the bank and pretend to be somebody I'm not. I'm just not going to do that. Okay. And so the good news is, a lot of those banks that won't talk to you, they do let you do a lot online. Okay. So you fill out paperwork where the homeowner gives you the ability, the legal right to talk on their behalf, to do conduct business on their behalf. They give you their social and their account numbers and all that kind of stuff. And you help them try to get their loan modification. I like the loan modification the best, and it's also the hardest to get, because what a loan modification does is, I've got this loan. I'm supposed to make these payments, but I can't afford these payments, and I'm not going to be able to pay this loan off in the terms we've already agreed to. But please, sir, please, ma'am, please change my payments, change the terms of my loan, please change it to something I can afford. So maybe your homeowner has $1,000 a month note and they can't afford it, but they can afford $700 a month. Okay. And maybe they've been with that bank for 10 years, or credit union for 10 years. And so the bank says, you've been with us for 10 years. I know your life has changed suddenly and now you can't make your payments, but you've already got 10 years of payments in. We're going to modify the terms of your loan. We're going to extend it another 2 or 3 years, and we're going to drop your payments down. We're going to take the missed payments and we're going to tuck them at the end, instead of refinancing or changing your loan like that. We're just going to move some things around, give you some breathing space. And I love it. I haven't seen it happen in a while, but it used to be you could talk to the loan issuer, and you could get like a 2-month reprieve, and they would tack the missed payments onto the end. So instead of a 30-year mortgage, maybe it was like 30 and 6 more months, but you've already paid 7 years into it. So they, instead of extending it out to another 30 years, which you would do with a refinance, they just kind of tack it on at the end. And I love that when that happens. It never happened very often for my clients, but that was always the goal. The goal was to get a loan modification that changed the terms to something this seller could afford. Because if you're at the point where they're talking about foreclosing on you, I don't care what reason it is. I've been sick. I've been sick to the point where where they said, we're going to put you out of the Air Force. I've been heartbroken. I've lost family members. I understand what happens when these life situations happen and we can't get out there. When my father died, I couldn't even run my business for like 6 months. And in that situation, if my lifestyle depended, if not my lifestyle, because my elevated lifestyle did depend on, but not my basic living. But if my basic living depended on being able to run my business in that 6 months, then I really wouldn't have been able to afford to live where I lived. And it's easy to say, I'm going to pull it all together and I'm going to get things back together and I'm going to pull it all together and it's going to be all right. But at the end of the day, you really don't know. Grief is different for everybody. And when I realized I was in this situation, I had to make decisions about my financial situation based on the present circumstance. And the present circumstance said, okay, you're not taking any trips. You're not doing this. Now, like I said, my mortgage, when my dad died, my mortgage in that house in Louisiana and all the child care and all that stuff had nothing to do with my business income. Business income was the trips and the fun. Okay. So it was okay. We're not going to do that. But if grief has really crushed you, and it's been 6, 7, 8 months now, and you can't pay your bills, it's time to change. I'm trying to teach a class. I'm trying to teach a class on how to help people like this, but I feel like either live or after the fact, somebody that's listening to me is in this situation. You cannot afford to pay your bills. You can't afford to pay for your house. You can't afford to pay for your car. You don't want to sell those things and walk away because then you feel like you might be a failure. But I'm telling you right now, you let somebody come in and take that thing off your hands, take the headache away, allow you to rebuild your life without a foreclosure, without a bankruptcy, without a repossession. I promise you, in a year or two, you're going to be in a much better situation. Now, if that's you today, I want you to come back and let me know that I have encouraged your soul, because I promise you, these are financial principles. I don't even have to know who you are or what your situation is to know that if you're in the situation I've just described, that what I'm telling you will help you. I've seen it over and over again. I've lived it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Calling up those banks, calling up that car loan, calling up, because I shouldn't have had one in the first place. Calling up all these. I didn't take that loan. Let me just say that I didn't take that stuff. I didn't take that. Right. Let me just throw that out there. My ex took that loan. But the hardest thing I had ever done. I was a major in the Air Force at the time. And I had to call all those people and say, I can't pay my bills. I can't pay. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what my bank did. I'm going to tell you what USAA did. Now, there's a lot of faults with them right now, but I'll tell you what they did. They gave me a 2-month reprieve. They sure did. Because they saw the patterns on all of our shared accounts. They saw all the things that he had done while I was gone, and they felt really bad for me. They did a lot of things to help me get my life back together. Now, they didn't pay my bills for me, but they did give me a reprieve, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad that this has been a blessing to you. Okay, and that's one of the things I love about foreclosure consulting, because you're not only blessing your future, but you are also helping somebody else win at life. You're helping somebody else get a fresh start. Okay. So we talked about the loan modification. A lot of banks don't do that anymore. And a lot of banks didn't do it back then either. The next step is to try for a forbearance. A forbearance is where you don't have to pay. But the problem with the forbearance is you don't have to pay, but you still owe the money. So you got $1,000 a month mortgage that you can't afford. They give you a forbearance and say for 6 months you don't have to pay. Well, for 6 months you don't have to pay, but guess what happens at the end of that 6 months? Now you owe $6,000. How many of us know somebody, don't admit it if it's you, but it was me. It was me. How many of you know somebody who thought that this would be a great idea, and then at the end of it you didn't have the money? They didn't have the money. Okay. And so I'm not a big fan of the forbearance unless it's a real verifiable thing. Like, for example, you you you're having surgery to fix whatever disability caused you to lose income. You got in a car accident and you're getting better, but you're just not there yet. But once you get there, you're gonna be able to go back to earning your high income. Or you stopped working to go to school and life happened and you weren't able to keep your scholarships or whatever, but you're about to graduate in 2 months, and when you graduate, your earning potential is $80,000 to $90,000 a year. Then maybe, okay, but a lot of people lose with the forbearance because they can't pay. Okay, so in a situation where the bank doesn't let you work with it to get your life back together, then if the numbers work for an investor, you can usually find an investor, especially if you're a member of one of those kinds of groups that I mentioned earlier, the real estate investor associations. You can find an investor to take that property off their hand. They will get it cleaned up. They will catch up the loan. So that's immediate benefit to the seller's credit report. They'll get the loan caught up so that the sellers have an immediate boost. They might even be able to, depending on if there's any equity, they might even be able to help the sellers move or give them a little bit of money in their pocket. I usually try to ask my investors to give them at least, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, depending on when I was in Northern Virginia, I would try to get them $5,000 because we're talking about $400,000-$500,000 houses here, right? So I mean, come on, there's some profit margin there, but the numbers have to work. If the numbers don't work, or if they're too close to the foreclosure, which I'm telling you, you would be so surprised at how many calls I get in the sales tomorrow, and you're like, I can't. Unless you only owe $200, I can't get a check cut. I can't get a check cut from my self-directed IRA that quick. And I don't buy property anymore on my own. I don't buy it for me anymore. I buy it in my IRA, which ooh, I'm getting older. It's not going to be very long anymore before all that earnings is tax free. So I don't need it right now, but I'm going to need it later. I mean, stop and think about this for a second. Some of you have already, because I see who's on. I see some of the people who's on. I don't see everybody who's on because it's so many different platforms. But some of you have already got this. You've realized, hey, wait a second. I don't want to work till I drop dead. I want to do good in my community. I want to be able to travel and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I want to be able to go travel across the country and visit this grandchild and that grandchild. I want to be able to go on the cruise when I want to. I want to be able to have the nice house and have people come over. I want to be able to fill in the blank with whatever's important to you. And you have realized that we got to make hay while the sun shines. And we have got to get this done now so that later on we can have the ability. My heart breaks every time I talk to somebody who's stressing out because they can't get enough hours from Walmart or whatever the local low quality provider is in town. They can't even get enough hours to pay their bills. And I feel in my heart like if we could help enough people avoid that.
Your input is invalid.
In their somebody must have dropped off the free conference call. If we could help people avoid that. Like, that's what it's about, building wealth together. And I think, nobody under 20, you listening to me and you're under 20 today, you should never be in that situation unless the Lord calling you into a spiritual battle. All right. Because we're teaching you the stuff that will work. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox. I need to finish this class. I just realized we're over an hour. All right. I'm going to go quick. This is quick. Okay. I've given you so much theory that the actual practicality is going to be very quick. All right. So that's the first stage, distressed sellers. If they can't fix it and the numbers work for an investor can come in. But if the numbers don't work for an investor, or if what usually happens, the homeowner is not willing to walk away that easily because they really feel that tomorrow a miracle is going to happen, the property will go to auction. And the lender will keep pushing until they finally get the approval. It'll go to foreclosure. The property will be sold. And when it's sold, from the money that the county or parish collects, or city, depending on your jurisdiction, sometimes at the city level, most of the time it's at the county level, depending on where your whoever, how much money they get, they pay off the taxes. If they can, they pay off mortgages. If they can, they pay off any other loans, and then other things like construction liens and stuff like that get paid off. And so if you've ever heard the term getting wiped at an auction, what happens is, if you've got these other little things, you've got construction liens, and you've got you agreed to help somebody and do all this work for them, and they didn't pay you, and you filed a lien or whatever it is, the money that's get collected, as it works its way down this list, as it pays off the taxes, then it pays any mortgages on it. The bank that held the first mortgage, they may be the one that's pushing the foreclosure, knowing fair, full, and well that whoever's holding the home equity line and the second mortgage and there's so many unique products people can get caught up in now. They may not get their money, and you might have some other note. You might have a construction lien. You might have any other kind of lien. You may not get your money, and so that's where you might get wiped out. You might get wiped. All right. You had an interest in the property, but it got sold at foreclosure. Wasn't enough money to pay you. Sorry. So that's a very, very interesting dynamic to pay attention to when you are investing in properties and you're looking for properties. The good news for an investor means when you buy the property at the auction, it comes to you unencumbered. There's the taxes are already paid off, because that'll usually be the minimum. That'll usually be the minimum, is the taxes that are owed. The mortgages will be satisfied, or even if they're not paid off, it's too bad, right? That's why the banks often buy the property. Okay. So that's what I'm saying down here in this last one. If it looks like the sale's too low, a lot of banks are going to bid the highest amount that they need to in order to take ownership of the property. And I've never worked at a bank, but from what I understand at a bank is you have a sliding scale every month. If you have a property and you've got your particular insurance against that property, however it's insured, okay, every month the amount of money you have to have from that property in order to get your insurance to pay the rest of what's owed goes down. And what they'll pay, what the insurance company will pay goes up. So every month it's doing like this and doing like this and doing like this. And that's why short sales work, because you can just keep trying every month. You can keep trying. And eventually, if the property doesn't sell, eventually the amount that the insurance will pay is this much, and the amount the bank needs in order to get the insurance is down here. And well, down here is what you want to pay. Okay. So a lot of times a bank is not going to just let a property go down here because the insurance still requires this much, right? And so the bank will at least bid this much, and then they're going to try to sell it and get that much. So then the insurance covers the rest. It's a very fascinating process. I hope I'm explaining it well enough. All right. So if the bank ends up buying it, that's when it becomes real estate owned. We did talk about this earlier, REO. You can sell it through traditional methods by listing it with a realtor. Usually you're going to see that as an as is. They will mark them a lot of times REO now. They didn't used to, but they'll say as is, where is, or something like that. And sometimes it'll say the short sales required because the bank knows that it owes more. That's more is owed on it than what they can sell it for because of the market. And again, that's that game with the insurance. How much can they? What's the lowest they can take for that property and still get the insurance company to come in and make them whole? See, they're not going under. You ever wonder why banks have the biggest buildings in town? They have figured out how to get their money back. All right. If you're not familiar with the term short sales when more is owed on the property than it's worth, and the investor gets the lender to accept less to satisfy the loan. Okay. And again, that usually goes in contact with the what's that insurance policy procedure that I just mentioned. Okay. So all of this that I've explained about foreclosures, how do you profit from helping people? Okay. If you're working with somebody at the pre-foreclosure stage, you can work with them to try and do a loan modification or forbearance. You can help them get their money straight so they can get caught up. I mean, there have been times where I have worked with people who really could get this caught up, but they're in just such denial, and they're just so overwhelmed that they don't actually see it. Like it's there, but sometimes when you're so emotional and you're just so frustrated and you've tried so hard and you just, it's just so heavy, and it's like this veil comes over your eyes and you can barely see the solutions. The solution is there, but the stress keeps you from seeing it. We talk about this a lot in my self-image rising class, how the stress, no kidding, siphons away blood in your brain away from the creative problem solving areas, and it siphons it to the parts that control your motor so you can fight or flight. Okay, it's scientific. All right. So sometimes you can help people get their money straight so they can get caught up. Okay. How do you profit? Well, either the homeowner is paying you or you find another helping agency to sponsor your fee. Now, I personally did not make homeowners pay me unless they were high enough net worth overall that I figured they could pay me on the back end. So a lot of people that would come to me in foreclosure, you're on disability, you're on this, you're some kind of fixed income. I don't have any designs that you're going to be able to pay me my $3,000, $5,000 fee on the back end. Like you could make $100, you could pay me $100 a month, but that's like 500 months, that's like a couple of years. And well, I just don't trust that that's going to happen, right? So you can find local helping agencies to sponsor your fee. In a lot of places, though, somebody's going to buy that property. And if you help an investor buy the property, or if you're the one that buys the property, if you're the one that buys it, you get the profit right away anyway. But if you're the one that helps an investor, that investor pays your fee. Okay. And so it's an interesting dance. And you can ask the homeowners to pay you, and you figure out a fee that works for them. You can ask them to pay you up front. You can ask them to pay you on the back end, like I used to for people that I figured could pay me. I'm sorry, I that math was wrong. 500 months is like what, like 9 years. Is that like 9 years? I don't know. Math in public. Yes, I did math for a living, but you know what? I'm tired. So there's another way. When you go to the auction, how would you profit from the auction? Well, if you've done your research and you understand how much bid and you make your money when you buy, which means you're bidding only as high as it's still profitable, then you make your money right there. Once you get it, you turn around, rent it, fix it up, do whatever you want to do with it, depending on the right of redemption in your state. There are some jurisdictions that the right of redemption is the whole time that I'm trying to remember where it was. I was doing research for something. I was like, wow, the minute you buy it, you got it. I was like, wow, most places you gotta wait. You gotta wait a couple months or a year or two, So that's another way that you can profit. If it's an REO, you can work the process, work the short sale process to get that loan amount down and let the bank accept less than what's owed on the property, and you can create equity that way. Okay, I have worked on a short sale. I could teach a short sale class, but I'm not gonna, because it is so detailed and so meticulous, and for my flighty personality, it's just a little too boring. But if that's something people are interested in, I can certainly find an expert to come in next year and we can do a class on short sales. Okay. So those are the ways that you can profit from the foreclosure process. The biggest things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start learning. You're going to want to start learning what the procedures are in your jurisdiction. You can actually go down to the courthouse. Now, sometimes it's going to be at the courthouse. Sometimes it's going to be at the land records. You got to figure out what it's at in your place. But there is some place in your jurisdiction where they post who's about to go into foreclosure. When the bank makes a notice, that's public notice. And there's some place, I remember in Maryland, it was at the courthouse. It was that when I was in Prince George's County, it was at the courthouse, and there was a lady that would come. She had one of those scanner pens. You run it over the text, and it scans all the text in. She got paid, no kidding. As soon as they put the new book of foreclosures out, she would scan it all in. Older lady. She would scan it all in. She would sell that information to an investor. That investor would take the information, cherry pick the best properties for himself, and then he would send out the rest of the list as, hey, check out my daily foreclosure list. It was genius. It was really genius. And I wished I'd had the time and energy to do it, but the nature of my work and being a new mom, that wasn't gonna work for me. So but it's somewhere. It's somewhere, and you can learn where that is. In some jurisdictions, it's electronic. In some jurisdictions, it's only paper copy, but there are ways to do it, and they don't have to cost you anything. A lot of jurisdictions will charge you for doing electronic online research, but they won't charge you to go physically there and do the research in the courthouse or do the research in the land recs. Okay. So you want to be able to figure out what that is. And you can start that research tonight. You can start looking through the processes. You can start gathering the information. Okay. In many jurisdictions, the sales are on the first Tuesday. So you can prep now. You can start doing your research in different neighborhoods and figure out where you want to focus, and then kind of get a couple properties that are on the foreclosure list right now and do your analysis and decide what you would pay for it. And you're not paying for it, but you go there and you see what happens. You see what other investors do. You see whether the bank buys it, right? You like physically prepare yourself to go to the sale. Now, this is a Benny. This is a bonus because you hung on to the end. All right. We're almost at, we're at 70 minutes, 90 minutes. We're almost at an hour and a half now. And you've hung in there. I'm going to give you a juicy tip. Okay. When you go to these foreclosure sales, at the courthouse, at the sheriff's sale, or whatever they call it where you're at, there's going to be two kinds of people that are bidding on these on these properties. One of them is the bank, or a bank's representative, or a lawyer representing the bank, right? The other people, all right, I'm gonna ask y'all to drop it in the chat. Who knows who I'm going to say? Who's the other category of people that are bidding on these properties? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Yes, I'm trying to give you a roadmap so you can see different avenues to profit. Come on, drop it in the chat. Who else is at these sales? Who else is at the sales? If somebody gets this, I'm going to give them a free membership to my, there we go. And I didn't say it, but yes, I think you're already in it. But I'm going to give, Sakisha Heilig, she just won herself a membership in my last year's class. She will get the last year's investment class with all of these lessons from last year. I haven't built it for this year. I'd give you this year. All right. It's other investors. Yes, sir. The city people are there, but they are not the ones that are bidding on the property. Okay. They're the ones trying to sell the property, because look, if it's in foreclosure, they're not paying their mortgage. They probably not paying their taxes either. That's a different one. All right. But don't let me forget, ma'am. I'm still processing all the videos and the audio from Women Building Wealth Together. Look, I told y'all use a good camera, and everybody used a good camera, and my poor little Vimeo account can barely handle it. So I'm gonna have to make some upgrades. But I'm still working on that. Don't let me forget. I'm gonna give you that access to the real estate class. All right. So who's there? Who's there is other investors. So what you do is you go out there and you see who's actually buying something. Because let me tell you this, those real estate groups that I gave you, I love them. I've learned so much from each one of the ones that I listed there. I only listed ones that I got a lot out of. I didn't send you to anything hanky, all right? But I'm going to tell you, when you go to these investor meetings, they're going to have hundreds of people in there, and they're all going to tell you about all their real estate investing. And most of them will not have done one deal. And most of them will want to get on your investor list so that hopefully when you send them something, it'll be the one, right, that they can sink their teeth into and get started. But what you're looking for is not the person who one day, someday, somehow, some way, going to be a real estate investor. You want the people who are investing right now, who have cash and who are willing to put their money where their mouth is. They bidding on that property. That means, that tells you they've got money. They've got money to do what it is you need people who have money to do. Because what happens as a foreclosure consultant, if you can't help the person and you can't buy the property, you need investors to buy the property. And guess what? Here's people at the auctions who have already shown you they are willing to put their money where their mouth is. So you follow them out. Hey, would you like to be on my investors list? Can I get your contact information? Can you tell me what kind of properties you like? Y'all, I just gave you, in that tip alone, that is a $2,000 tip. I better have some stuff in my PayPal when I get done with teaching this class, because that is how much benefit you got. I need to have something for my Global Youth Initiative, y'all. All right. So, this is also an older slide, so I must not have done that. I did not edit that slide. I am not teaching the 102 class. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to teach the 102 class. What this slide was supposed to say was that if you wanted to dig deeper, that what I will do is we will negotiate a price with a one-on-one. And depending on where you're at in your budget, it's not going to be free because we're taking my time. All right. And depending on your jurisdiction, if it's one I'm already familiar with, well, that's going to be a little cheaper because I already can tell you stuff, right? But we'll negotiate a price. If you have a small group, like you want to get your aunties and your uncles and your sisters and your brothers together, and or your best friends, your best girlfriends, right? You want to get 5 or 6 of your best girlfriends together, and y'all form you a little investing club, and you want me to come in and talk about this, we will set something up, okay? So I'm not doing my usual dig deeper class, okay? But we're still not going to leave you hanging. If this is something you're really interested in, now is the time to get ready. Now is the time to really understand what is happening in the foreclosure space, so that when the time is right and the wave of the foreclosures comes, you are already positioned. You have already put out marketing. People have already seen your picture with "Prevent Foreclosure" next to your name. Like, you have already emerged as the leader in this space while everybody else is trying to play catch up. All right. So that's what I have for you today. Please don't forget that this is our fundraiser for Global Youth Initiative. If you can drop me, there's the bit.ly. Okay. It's Queen of Cash Flow on PayPal and Cash App, or you can just do PayPal to my email there, ministerwiggins@gmail.com. Or if you don't like PayPal and you don't like Cash App because you're worried about the electronic, and I don't blame you, I use them both, but I tell you what, I've heard so many scam stories about them. you can go to bit.ly/lovehelping. All right. That is all I've got for you today. Let me check and make sure that I don't have any questions. If you have questions, this is your last chance to put them in the chat, because I'm checking the free conference call. Now I'm going to check the online Ask JJC. And if there's no questions, then we're going to end it for the day. And I'm going to roll on. Let's see what questions we have. Okay, so I have some new questions in there. Let's check that out and see if they are questions related to real estate. This is so slow. Okay, let's go down. There we go. There we go. There we go. Are you taking on new clients? Yes, I am taking on new clients, but in a very limited capacity. And so there is an application process. And basically right now I'm at a place in my business where I'm working with people who want to work. And you show me that you want to work by you show me you want to work by filling out the application completely and thoroughly, and by being willing to invest in yourself. I want to work with people who want to get results. And those are my requirements. All right. Okay. Great class today. I will appreciate y'all for being on today. Miss Akisha, if you don't get a notice from Teachable in the next couple of days, then let me know, and I will go back and make sure that you get access to that class. All right. It's a wonderful class. It may be 2 years ago. I don't know if I taught all of these last year, but it may be 2 years ago, but it covers all of these. And I had longer hair, so I was cuter. All right, y'all. That's all I got for you today. Y'all take care and be blessed.